Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. In this one, we're going to go over ratios. We're going to look at a bunch of different ratios, see what they're doing, and see what the trends are doing and what's favorable and not favorable. Again, this is just my financial opinion, and we're going to dive right into the charts. And here we go. So what I have is the CRB to S&P 500. We'll do a big long-term perspective. Big old downtrend line that was broken on a big up candlestick here. Zooming on in, we'll just kind of step in here so you guys can see what I've got. We've got this pattern that came in here. 1, 2, 3, break to the upside. That is a trend line break, big old trend line break. Came back, and now we're moving on up. Looking good. CRB is outperforming the S&P 500. We've got a bullish engulfing pattern here. So it's a nice, good move, and then a launch higher. So that's the S&P 500 in relationship, or CRB in relationship to the S&P 500. And it's favorable commodities, and it is going into a new uptrend. Platinum to gold ratio. This is what the big long-term picture looks like for platinum to gold. Yes, let's zoom into the 5-year. Here's the, well, let's go all. Big old descending wedge pattern. What that usually means is that we popped out to the downside in March of 2020, and we're coming back with vengeance. This ratio is most likely going to compress. We broke the downtrend line. This is a bullish setup to move higher. We zoom in on the right-hand side. We broke out. We came and did a back test. We're coming back up. We leaked out of this pattern here, back to 0.5 ratio, and I'm suspecting that this will eventually turn and move on up. So that's platinum that will outperform gold. We are still above its trend line. Platinum to palladium ratio. Zooming in out. This is a big picture view, kind of squeezed up a little, fell to the downside, all the way back down, and we're starting to come back up in this pattern here. Could this compress a little further? Maybe, maybe not. Usually when they are upward like this, they tend to break to the downside, but we'll see if this thing breaks to the upside. Oops. Year to date, looking at this through the 1 year. And here's that pattern. We're right at the top of this pattern, looking for a break to the upside if it can muster it. That's platinum to palladium ratio. Here's platinum to silver. Here's the trend line coming through. It's been declining ever since 03 to, yeah, 2003 was the peak at 150 ounces to 1 ounce platinum. Now it's all the way down to 41.42. Looking at the right-hand side, we are coming up in this uptrend, trying to make some momentum. Came back down, we're right at that support level. Gold to silver ratio, we are still increasing up a little bit. I'd like to see this break to the downside. We're at 76. That's what it looks like, kind of at a big picture view. We broke to the upside in 2020, all the way to 120 something. Came all the way back down, coming back up, and we're probably going to head back lower. Whenever you have things moving on up, that usually means that you're going to continue that trend in the opposite direction. Here's palladium to silver. Looks like we are breaking to the downside here. What that means is that silver is outperforming palladium. There's a 1 year, and that's what that guy looks like. And we'll see if this thing can blow to the downside here, where silver outperforms palladium. Dow Jones Industrial to gold. Is this a shoulder, head, shoulder developing? Maybe. That's what it looks like here, kind of on an uptrend. We leaked out. Let's look at this from a little bit bigger perspective here. We've got this huge increasing. Whenever this is tilted upward, it wants to break down, but it hasn't broken down for a little while. But we'll see. Usually this thing, see if this thing breaks to the downside of this kind of shoulder, head, shoulder pattern that's developing, which then means that gold will outperform stocks, but it's not at that point yet. Here is gold to oil ratio, and the gold to oil ratio is at 22.66. So we're right there. That's still relatively cheap in relationship to history. History, usually, if you're above 30, is incredibly cheap. And then the low end, this one we've got at 6.82. So this got down to about 6 in 2008 and in 2005. That ratio came up, and then we're compressing. This was a inflationary period that ended in 08. More of a disinflationary period, and then another inflationary period is coming, I believe, which we're in. And that's what causes this ratio to compress. That's what that supply-demand imbalance is. And here is copper to gold ratio, and we're right there kind of hugging the upper line, signaling that when this goes higher, that copper's outperforming gold. And this is what that ratio kind of looks like. You could also maybe even throw kind of a trend line through this guy here and say that we already broke the first one, kind of. Or you could take it from the top here and go down that way. And delete this one here. That you could also say we broke that one and we're heading on up. And that we have a larger trend line coming through here that's also got a little bit of resistance. And that's where we're at, is that resistance area. So that's what I've got for today. Just wanted to go over the ratios, let you guys know how they're interacting with each other. CRB index is outperforming stocks. That's a good thing. I think the commodities are going to do well. And usually all of these ratios, platinum should outperform the rest of the metals under those market conditions. And looking at some of these other ones, like we should still see a compression of the gold to oil ratio where oil outperforms that as well. If you guys like this type of analysis, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.